Alright, this tutorial is going to show you how to calculate the gradient, but using Excel to do it. You still need to show working for the first 20 lines on your sheet or from your picture, but you can absolutely use this to check your answers, and anything over 20 you can use the gradient that you'll get off this. So how we do it. First thing to note is you'll have to open up your Excel spreadsheet, and we're going to select the cell which is next to our first M equals. So for line 1, we select the cell O5. You can always read up here which cell I'm referring to, so this is O5. Now if we select that cell, we're going to use the formula of our rise over run formula. So if we do y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1, we can calculate the gradient. So we start by pressing equals. In Excel, equals refers to starting an equation basically. So equals, we open a bracket to do our y2 minus y1, and we select y2. So I'm going to say these here are my y2s, where these are going to be my y1s. So I select this -7 as my y2, and I'm going to minus my y1. So notice that when I select the cells, A, it's highlighted, and B, it turns up here with what cells I selected. So L5 minus F5. I'm going to close my bracket and then divide. Now I'm opening a new bracket to do my x2 minus x1. Because I started with -7, i.e. my end point, I have to again start with x2 being this 9 value. So I'll have 9 minus 7 and close my bracket. Press enter. Okay. I've now calculated my gradient for this point. If I did this by hand, I would get the same thing. Now, what I'm going to do is, if you select the cell that this was in and click down in the middle of that cell and then drag down, you should highlight the cells. What we're going to do is we're going to change the formatting on these cells. So currently it's set to number, and we're going to change it from number to fraction, which means that if I ever get a fraction as a gradient, it's going to write it as a fraction. That's a lot nicer than a decimal value. Now, I don't have to do that same process 20 times over. Instead, if I put my cursor to the very corner of my cell, so I've selected this cell, I've put it to the very corner, and it's turned into a nice little cross or a plus symbol. If you click and drag down, it's going to drag everything in that cell all the way down. What happens is that our values that we selected earlier, so we selected L5, F5, J5, and D5, it's going to change the 5s to 6 for this line here, for my second line, to 7 for my third line, and so forth. So it actually adjusts that equation for each of my lines. Now note that I have some divide zeros. Divide zeros refers to a line which is absolutely vertical. My x values don't change. So you can't actually divide by 0, so we describe this line as having a gradient of undefined. And I'm going to do exactly the same thing and change these all to undefined. Alright. Now the only other thing that you need to be aware of is that when we've selected fraction, it's changed in proper fractions. So 2.5 is the same as 2.5 or 5 on 2. So this writes it as 2.5. So just be aware of that when you're looking at these, okay? And that is your gradient using Excel. So that's fine to use. Save that page.